The words hung in the air, cold and sharp as shards of glass. They weren't shouted. They were deployed, a calculated strike meant to wound. You'll watch the kids while we enjoy our life. If you don't like it, there's the door. My mother, Grace Hawthorne, looked at me from across the dinner table, her face a perfect mask of weary martyrdom. It was a performance I'd seen 1,000 times, but this was its crescendo. The grandchildren, my children, froze. Chloe, my perceptive 16-year-old, stared at her grandmother, and in her eyes, I didn't see pride. I saw a dawning, horrified understanding. The response left my lips before I could engage my brain. A lifetime of frustration and fury finally finding a voice. Perfect. I'll go. And you can start paying your own bills. The silence that followed was absolute, a physical weight pressing down on the dining room. My wife, Sierra, dropped her fork, the clang against her plate sounding like a death knell. My sons, the 8-year-old twins Elijah and Isaiah, looked from me to their grandmother, their small faces creased with confusion. And my mother simply sat there, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. She had gotten what she wanted. A reaction. Proof of my ingratitude. But before I tell you how we reached this precipice, let me take you back. This isn't the story of a cruel son. This is the story of a drowning man, and the anchor tied around his neck was the woman who gave him life. My name is Marcus Hawthorne. I'm 42 years old, and for most of my life, I have lived in the long, manipulative shadow of my mother, Grace. I remember my father as a kind, quiet man, worn down to a nub by the constant, subtle demands of his wife. When cancer took him from us when I was 12, it was a tragedy. But for my mother, it was also an opportunity. She was now the eternal widow, the tragic heroine of her own story. Her favorite refrain, uttered with a sigh that could fill a room, was, "I raised Marcus alone, you know. After his father left us." She worked 2 jobs, a fact I was reminded of daily. Our small house in upstate Georgia was a shrine to her sacrifice. The cream-colored walls weren't just walls. They were a testament to her exhaustion. The garden wasn't just a garden. It was the product of her back-breaking labor. The squeaky rocking chair on the porch wasn't just a chair. It was the throne from which she surveyed the kingdom of her suffering. I loved her, of course. She was my mom. But love, in her hands, was not a comfort. It was a transaction. Every new pair of shoes, every school fee, was a brick in a wall of debt I could never hope to repay. I fought my way out. I got a business degree from Georgia State, landed a good job at a tech firm in Atlanta. I met Sierra, a brilliant, vibrant woman from a stable, normal family. Her parents loved each other openly, argued fairly, and supported their children without keeping a ledger. To me, they were aliens from a benign planet. Marrying Sierra was the best thing I ever did. It was my first real taste of unconditional love. 4 years, we maintained a careful, monthly détente with my mother. We'd visit, let her spoil the kids with cookies and heavy, guilt-laden dinners. She'd make passive-aggressive comments about Sierra's career, her parenting, the tidiness of our home. "Oh, you let them watch that? In my day. Or you're so lucky you can afford help, Sierra. I had to do everything alone." We bit our tongues. It was easier. Then, 3 months ago, the carefully maintained peace shattered. It started with a phone call. I was stressed. Sierra was exhausted. We had 3 kids, 2 demanding careers, and a mountain of debt we were desperately trying to climb. The tech industry was volatile, and my job required travel. We were a team, but we were a tired one. We'd discussed, in fleeting, hopeful moments, the idea of hiring a part-time nanny, but it was a financial stretch we couldn't yet make. My phone lit up with Mom. I answered, bracing myself. "Marcus," her voice was a fragile whisper. "I need you." The old programming kicked in. Panic. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" "Oh, no, baby. Nothing like that. It's just, this house. It's so empty. The taxes, they're going up again. And my pension, it's just not enough. I don't know how I'm going to make it." I sighed, rubbing my temples. This was a familiar song. "Mom, We've talked about this. You could downsize. There are nice apartments. I can't leave your father's house, she cried, the tears now audible. All my memories are here. This is where we built a life. I feel so alone. I hear the floorboards creak at night and I think it's him. She paused, letting the silence weigh on me. I was thinking, you said you and Sierra were struggling. With the kids. And I'm here, all alone in this big house. An idea, treacherous and seductive, began to form. What if? Mom, I said slowly. What if you sold the house? The market is good. You could have a real nest egg. You could move in with us. Temporarily. Just until we all get on our feet. You could help with the kids. And we could help you financially. It would be security for you. The silence on the other end was profound. I had taken her script and flipped it. I was offering her a solution, but it was one that brought her into the heart of my world. Move in with you, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Oh, Marcus, I couldn't impose. It wouldn't be an imposition, I said, the idea gaining momentum in my mind. It made sense. We could convert the small upstairs room, the one we used for storage, into a bedroom for her. She'd be with her grandchildren. We could pool resources. We could pay off our crushing credit card debt with the proceeds from her house sale, get a fresh start. It felt like a win-win. We could really use the help, Mom. And you'd never have to worry about money again. She sold the house in 3 weeks. She told me she got $45,000 for it, a figure I now question. She arrived at our doorstep in Atlanta with 2 suitcases and 3 boxes. She hugged us all, her eyes shining with what I mistook for gratitude. You're a lifesaver, son, she said, kissing my cheek. You and Sierra. I promise I won't be a burden. The first week was a honeymoon. She cooked lavish Southern meals, the kind I remembered from childhood. She doted on the twins and even managed to draw a reluctant smile from Chloe. Sierra, grateful for the help, thanked her profusely. Grace, you're amazing. Thank you so much. My mother would wave a dismissive hand. It's nothing, darling. It's what family does. But the script was already being rewritten. The small upstairs room became a point of contention. It's just a little cramped, don't you think, Marcus? She'd say, standing in the doorway. But it's fine. It's all I need. I'm used to making do. We started taking short trips for my work. They were not vacations. They were stressful, grinding business conferences where I networked desperately and Sierra worked remotely from a hotel room. But when we returned, my mother's narrative began to take shape. You look so well rested, she'd remark, her tone light but her eyes sharp. It must be so nice to get away. The children were angels, of course. We managed. Slowly, insidiously, the dynamic shifted. I was no longer the son providing a safe harbor. I was the negligent father, the ungrateful son, abandoning my mother with my children while I jaunted off to enjoy my life. The help she provided became a weapon. The meals she cooked were a reminder that she was working while we were playing. I began to notice things. She'd accidentally leave her bank statements out, the balance circled in faint pencil. She'd sigh heavily when discussing her lost garden. She started referring to our money as our money, and our home as our house. The breaking point came when I found her in my study. Mom, what are you doing in here? She jumped, clutching a sheaf of papers to her chest. They were our financial documents, bank statements, credit card bills. Oh, Marcus, I was just tidying. My goodness, son. This debt. Her face was a mask of concern. I had no idea things were this bad. All those trips, the clothes. Anger, hot and shameful, rose in my throat. Those trips are for my job, Mom. The job that pays for this house. The food you eat. Her eyes welled with instant tears. I know, baby. I'm just worried about you. I'm your mother. It's my job to worry. She stepped closer. Let me help you. Really help you. If you just added my name to your accounts, I could help manage the bills. I could make sure you don't get in over your head. And maybe you should sign a power of attorney. just as a precaution. If something happened to you, I could take care of everything for Sierra and the kids. The trap was sprung. The temporary arrangement was now a permanent takeover. She wasn't just living with us. She was seeking to own us. I refused, of course. Gently at first, then more firmly. The atmosphere in the house turned icy. The warm, grateful grandmother vanished, replaced by a silent, seething presence. Meals were eaten in tension. She would perform acts of service with the grim determination of a slave, making sure we all felt the weight of her labor. Then, I discovered the truth about the money. I needed my birth certificate for a passport renewal and remembered she kept all our important documents in a locked box. I found the key. Inside, nestled among old photos and my father's watch, was a bank book. Her savings account. Not the one with the $45,000 from the house sale. A different one. An older one. The balance was $120,000. She had lied. She wasn't destitute. She had a small fortune, all the while playing the penniless widow, manipulating me into inviting her into our home so she could get her hands on our money, so she could control us completely. The sale of her house hadn't been a necessity. It had been a strategic retreat, a burning of her own bridges to ensure she had nowhere else to go, thus obligating me forever. The night of the dinner, I was a pressure cooker about to explode. Sierra and I had been arguing. We were on the brink of financial ruin, our marriage was strained, and my mother had just suggested we cancel a crucial team-building trip for my company because she wasn't sure she could handle the children for a whole weekend. That's when she delivered her masterstroke. You'll watch the kids while we enjoy our life. If you don't like it, there's the door. And I snapped. Perfect. I'll go, and you can start paying your own bills. The dining room went silent. But in the aftermath, as my children stared and my wife looked at me with frightened eyes, I saw my mother's plan with terrifying clarity. She had provoked me into being the villain. She had wanted me to yell, to be the ungrateful son who throws his poor, self-sacrificing mother out on the street. And I had played my part perfectly, but I was done playing. I stood up from the table, my chair scraping loudly in the silence. No, I said, my voice low and steady now. No, I'm not going. This is my house. Sierra, the kids, you are my family. Mom, I turned to her, meeting her shocked gaze. You have $120,000 in a savings account you never told me about. You are not a pauper. You have been lying to us, manipulating us, from the very beginning. Her face went pale. How dare you? After all I know what you've done, I interrupted, my voice cold. I found your bank book. The game is over. Chloe was watching me, her dark eyes wide. Not with pride, but with a desperate, hopeful fear. My lawyer will be in touch tomorrow, I continued. We will work out a fair, legal arrangement for you. You can use your money to rent an apartment. We will help you find one. We will help you move. But you will not live in this house and poison my family any longer. The fallout was nuclear. Tears, accusations, the performance of a lifetime. She was the betrayed mother, the victim of a cruel and greedy son. She called relatives, sobbing down the phone. She painted me as a monster. But I held firm. For the first time in my life, I held firm. With Sierra's unwavering support, we engaged a lawyer. We didn't sue her. We simply presented her with the evidence of her deception and gave her a deadline. The power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. The anchor was finally cut loose. She moved out a month later into a lovely, comfortable apartment we found for her, paid for with her own ample funds. The performance of victimhood continues, of course. But the audience in our home is gone. Chloe came to me a week after my mother left. She hugged me, tight. I'm sorry, Dad, she whispered. I didn't know. I thought she was just sad. She is sad, honey, I said, holding her. But some people use their sadness as a weapon. We can love her, but we don't have to live with her weapons. The silence in our house now is different. It's not the tense, waiting silence of my mother's displeasure. It's a peaceful, healing silence. Sierra and I are in counseling, rebuilding what was almost broken. The twins laugh more freely. Chloe has started calling me Papa again, a name she hadn't used since she was a little girl. I look at my family now, at Sierra's smile, at Chloe's art taped to the fridge, at the twins building a fort in the living room, and I feel a peace I haven't known since I was a boy, before I learned that love came with strings attached. My mother built a gilded cage her whole life, decorated with the trinkets of her sacrifice. She tried to lure us all inside. I was born in that cage, and for 42 years, I thought its bars were the bones of the world. It took nearly losing everything to realize I held the key all along. All I had to do was turn it.